Hello and welcome. This is episode 46 of the SEO Leverage podcast. And today I've got the great pleasure to welcome Kan Huang to this podcast. Thank you very much, Kan, for taking the time.
No, thank you, Gert. Appreciate it.
Awesome. It's great to have you because you're really an expert in a very important topic. We see clients getting really good results. Some other clients still lacking a little bit of experience in this field. And you're the expert when it comes to video production, video making, video editing, etc. I'm going to ask you then to give a little bit of a background about your marketing background. You obviously know more things than videos. But yeah, we had the pleasure to get to know each other through the community of James Remco. Big shout out to James at this stage from superfastbusiness.com, who makes it connects us with really interesting people like you who really know what they're doing, which is always great. Could you maybe spend a minute or two to give our listeners a little bit of a background where you come from? How did you end up helping people with video production, and what else do you bring to this mix?
Sure. I mean, I'm based here in Sydney, Australia. Obviously, like you mentioned, we connected through James and Superfast Business membership, which is a fantastic membership as well. I run a marketing agency or a video production agency called Social Wave. It's been around for about 18 months to 2 years, and got a team of roughly about 12 to 15 people at any given time. But what we basically do is help businesses generate leads and also improve conversions using video. So we do a lot of, strategizing with them, get them to understand exactly what sort of videos they need to create. How can they do that as a positioning play? And ultimately, establish them as a thought leader and also an authority figure in their industry to help obviously generate leads and also nurture their audiences. So that's basically what we solve as a business.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. So video is obviously not only a priority for us. We push out a YouTube video now every single week, which is a challenging task, but also rewarding when you get the feedback and people see you and get really appreciate information. You get some comments, etc. Video is definitely here to stay. Would you agree?
I agree. If anything, I think video is actually getting bigger and bigger. And you mentioned YouTube. YouTube's kind of one of those platforms where they're getting better and better. And I think there's a statistic out there where video consumption, particularly mobile video consumption, is actually growing or doubled year on year for the last 5 or 6 years. So it's just getting bigger and bigger.
This is really impressive, and especially if you think about, or I think about my personal behavior when on the phone. I mean, there's so much content you consume during a day, and in video format, be it scrolling through through Instagram feeds and reels, for example, just to kill some time really and get entertained, or if it's really about information. Or you might sometimes YouTube is just the first channel you actually look for something, right? And say, okay, let's have someone explain video production to me. Let's have someone explain SEO to me, right? So I don't have to read this. I can lean back, sip my cup of coffee and just get things explained or get exposed to a lot of information presented in a very nice way. So there's definitely a lot of room here. I know some of my clients are embracing video and have been for quite a while. We have clients with thousands of subscribers on YouTube that essentially created their audience even before they maybe then transitioned to SEO and tried to get SEO organic visitors through SEO to their content. Other clients don't do video at all because it seems like really complex, really difficult to create videos, and so complex with the lighting, with the script, with, I don't know, we might be talking about a specific framework later that can help people to organize their videos. But when would you think, or for whom would you think it's really interesting to start producing videos on a regular basis or add them to their communication mix?
I mean, videos traditionally have a very, a perceived high barrier of entry. If you break down the whole video production process, you've got to come up with the topics. Maybe you've got to script things together or come up what you want to talk about. After you figure out what you're going to talk about it, you've got to get all the equipment together. You've got to film it. And after you film it, you've got to go and edit it. And then, of course, you've got to distribute it and figure out how to, do that properly. How do you amplify it correctly? You got social media algorithms. Maybe if you got the SEO play with YouTube, you want to make sure your videos rank organically on YouTube, or perhaps, they complement some of the existing traffic that you've got. So with your audience, they have SEO traffic, inbound organic traffic coming through. How do you use videos as a way to, help convert people as well? And so I suppose fundamentally it's, it's one of those things where I think every business should actually be using video. How you use the video, what type of video you create, is obviously situational depending on it. And so I always like to, I guess, talk about the buyer's journey and understanding exactly where your target customers or target clients are at and what part of that journey it is. And so usually break down the journey into 4 steps. We usually say it's problem unaware. Someone who just doesn't really know that they have a problem. And so whatever your product or service is, does that solve something? Is it something that you can drum up desire through video? And if they're problem aware, which is the next stage, then generally they know they have a problem and they're kind of looking for answers about how to solve that problem. The next stage, which is stage 3, you're talking about, people who are solution aware. It could be that I have a problem. I need to get married. This is a terrible example, but I need to go and buy an engagement ring, and so they go looking for an engagement ring. And so, do you go and create a video on your product listing page for engagement rings to help convert that? And then finally, it could be brand aware. It could be that I don't know in Spain whether or not there's this brand, but like say Michael Hill Jewelers here in Australia, very well known jewelry brand. And so you would go on to Michael Hill Jewelers website because you're aware of their brand, they solve a particular problem. And I say quote unquote problem to be able to do that. And so video, you need to understand exactly at what stage and what sort of videos you should be creating, what you should be talking about. But I do believe that everyone should be creating videos for their business.
So these videos should be videos for every single one in these stages or for a specific stage in particular?
I think where necessary, right? And that goes back to understanding exactly what that supposed funnel looks like and what are the actions they need to take. So for example, if you are you're running an online membership, or you could be an accountant, for example, let's say, what sort of videos do you need to create? Like, for example, we've got a client who is an accountant and he's going out there and he's creating videos that are educational. They're how-to topics, and they're explaining what are the key things, what are the pain points that people have, and what sort of questions are they asking, they're searching for, and then creating video content to deliver that sort of value. And ultimately what that ends up doing is it positions them as an expert. You as an accountant know what you're talking about and you're credible. And then off the back of that, usually at the end of the video, you have a call to action. You just say, look, if you want to learn more, if you want to get an accountant to help you out, head on over to our website or click on the link in the description box below and then find out more. We can do a free consultation or something like that.
It's such an important point that you mentioned, answering the questions clients have, etc. I remember a project we started, I think 10 years ago, where we didn't even call it inbound marketing back then or SEO. We just told the client and say, look, why don't you give me a list of all the questions you get all the time in your call center, your salespeople, the questions they get, and we just write articles about their answers. And this strategy has been working so well for them. They have been a client with us for 10 years in a row, monthly renewing, because it was just working and bringing in the right people. Because the questions people ask on the phone, they also ask on Google. And we're now starting to roll out also YouTube and kind of make a video version of all those answers. So people can not only find this on YouTube or find this on the search results as a video answer, but also then embed this content into the articles just to make sure that the questions get answered. And answering questions, we even in our audit, we have this as a separate part of the keyword research where we just collect all the questions and say, look, if you happen to have someone who has some time available, just answer these questions. These are questions people actually ask on Google, on Quora, on Reddit, and they want to find an answer. And this is a very good entry point for people to start generating some traffic. I think it's really important what you said, that it depends where you create the videos. For example, in our case, we know we don't need videos explaining what SEO is, because the people who are willing or want to invest in SEO, they already know what this is. They already know what it can do for them or have invested in SEO in the past, but they're just looking for like a proven framework. So we definitely start a little bit further down in the funnel, where we explain different strategies or different things you can do in order to improve your SEO. But I can see this this stage where it's a problem unaware, where you just explain, okay, your traffic is, you don't get so many calls anymore. So what could be the thing? And yeah, SEO might be one of the reasons why this doesn't happen anymore, right?
Yeah, I agree. And look, marketing at the end of the day is all about empathy. So it's more about understanding how well you know your audience. And so fundamentally, if you have a very innate understanding or you're very familiar with your audience and you've been in the game for a long time in your industry, you should naturally, as a business owner, be able to identify what sort of content to create. And so I think there's a lot of similarities between video and SEO because, both are to do with search in a lot of ways. And it's about understanding what are the pain points, what are the frequently asked questions, and sort of what are the knowledge gaps that people have, and how do you create the right content to match with the search intent for people to get their answer. And I think ultimately great marketing is marketing that helps people with transformation, so that after they consume your content, they're better for it. And so it's just giving that value. And again, it's that positioning piece where it makes you, an authority, and it makes you a trusted figure. And so that when people are inclined to actually go ahead and choose an expert to solve their particular problem, they're more inclined to do that with you.
Absolutely. I agree. We definitely do videos for first and foremost so people can get to know us, can get to know me, can get to know how we think about things, how we do things, so they can really establish this kind of trusted relationship and say, okay, there are agencies that promise a page 1 ranking in 3 days, and there are other agencies trying to help me understand why certain things are important and are going to bring me towards good rankings and towards more exposure. So the trust aspect for us is probably the main reason why we ultimately started the YouTube channel in the first place, so people could just form their opinion, and if they think we could be a good fit, reach out or get a quick audit or do something with them so we can get started or give them an opinion about their project. What do you think is the purpose really, apart from building trust? We mentioned this now. What other purposes could a video cover?
Videos help with actually differentiation as well. I mean, like for example, in your case, there's a lot of SEO agencies out there. So how do you set yourself different and set yourself apart compared to your competitors? So definitely that is a massive part of that process. It also helps keep you front of mind. I think, just like back in the day, I mean, a classic example is, Coca-Cola, the biggest and probably the most well-known brand in the world, yet they still continue to do, advertising and marketing, and particularly around videos. I mean, you see them on TV commercials, and you probably see their videos around YouTube ads and that sort of stuff. And so it's this constant reminder that they're still around. And I think that's a really understated value of something like videos or content in general, because, when it comes time, some people, if you're selling something high ticket, the sales cycle is quite long. You do need to spend a fair bit of time staying front of mind. And so it's that constant touch point that you have with people. It's why business development managers are, check in every quarter and they have a catch up coffee with you. It's what video basically does on demand. So that's obviously a key difference with why videos are really important. And also another thing that's really, I guess, understated too, is that people don't realize that videos can be a really effective form of efficiency and productivity. So creating a video that covers some of the regular, frequently asked questions that you always ask, right? Like if you're talking consultations, like maybe you for SEO, people always just saying like, what about link building? What is link building? Why should you be doing link building? And creating a piece of video content. We get this once in a while, yeah. You get it every now and again. And create a video off that, so that instead of spending the 20 minutes or the half an hour that you're, speaking to them about that, they may have watched it beforehand, or maybe potentially if they haven't watched it, you say, look, let me send you something afterwards. And so it's just that ability to scale your time as well is super important for video too.
Well, this is amazing. Obviously, videos have different purposes. I see this staying top of mind, especially in social media. If I follow a brand and I'm not just yet ready, but I like what they're doing, and I might be ready, I don't know, in a year or two. We had this with the tools we use for link building. We weren't able to afford the market leading tool a few years back, and just had them on our radar and said, okay, once the agency grows, once we get more people, and now I have more than 23 people. So we're now at the stage where we can really take this next step. So they were on our radar, they stay top of mind, as you say, and then at some point you make the decision and say, okay, now is the right time to really take the next step. Right. We also see that people very often spend months thinking about whether they should be doing SEO, maybe do something on their own before they actually hire a professional. And I would expect this could also be the case for your clients, where they first start out maybe with their own videos, but it's at some point then say, okay, they might need professional help, or might want their videos to look as professional as their competitors' videos do. Or so, when do you think comes the time where someone should transition from a DIY approach? And I would include myself there, because I have my camera equipment. Tomorrow I'm going to be at the office recording and I do my different settings and my different sequences, so this doesn't get as boring as a normal SEO video with a talking head. When do you think is the stage where someone should really look into outsourcing at least parts of the video production process?
Yeah, look, I mean, most of our clients come to us when their time is more valuable than the money spent. And so a lot of the time it's that their business has gotten to a stage where they're better off doing other things more highly. Their effective hour rate is much better than them being in the editing room and editing the videos. And so if you're someone who's earlier on in the stage and you've got more time than you've got money coming in or revenue coming in, certainly it's something just to continue to do yourself. And it can be high production quality, low production quality. Look, I think at ultimately the end of the day, the highs, well, the best performing aspect of video is actually the quality of the storytelling and the communication or the messaging. And so for those people who come to us, they're generally people who say, look, I don't want to be spending time in the trenches doing this sort of stuff. I just want to say front up in front of camera once a quarter. We knock off 6 to 8 videos with them and then they go about continuing their day, whatever it is that they're doing. And so I guess we've built our agency in a lot of ways for it to be super affordable to the point where, it actually doesn't make any sense for a lot of businesses out there to actually have to pay for a full-time person in-house. It's actually cheaper to go with an agency like us. And so, a lot of business owners just look at the ROI and go, oh, this doesn't actually make any sense. I can get someone who can, do it all as opposed to maybe having to train someone up and dealing with them on my payroll. So certainly I think if you're at a business size where, your time is worth a lot more, that's when it's probably time to jump over.
Awesome. That's interesting. So if now someone is doing the videos on their own, and for example, we have a case where very often our clients might have an article that's already ranking really well, but they see competitors maybe also having videos embedded, so they're looking for presenting content also in a video format, and then try to just add value to the article to maybe have a higher chance to rank. If competitors are doing video, you really can't be the only player out there ignoring video completely. What could be a good process or a framework where someone says, okay, I need this video. What are the steps they really should be taking or thinking about in order to structure the approach a little bit? Because I know there are people out there that just hit record, say something, then put it up on the website, which obviously is not the best approach. What do you suggest? Where could people start? And then obviously at different stages, you could come in and help.
For sure. I mean, we actually follow a formula or a script formula called HILDA. It's actually coined by a guy named Ken Okazaki, who is actually a video marketing coach. And he used to do he used to do videos for guys like Tony Robbins, so very well known in the space. And so HILDA, which is spelled HILDA, basically just stands for hook, introduction, lead, deliver the goods, and then ask. So I'll go down and I'll break down each of these steps. And that way, for people who are looking to say, do their own videos, this would give them a really good, formula to work with. So hook just refers to, picking out maybe the juiciest part of the video after you've recorded it, right? It could be something outlandish. If you look at YouTubers, they're really good at it. They just pick something that's just really of a shock factor and you're just like, I got no idea what I just watched, but I want to see more. Or it could be just like a punchline, like a bit of a mic drop moment. You maybe said something really, killer in the video and you put that at the front of the video, because that's the hardest thing. If you can't get people to, jump into the video and watch the rest of the video, you've kind of lost most of the battle. It's just like having a really good subject line in your email. And then so once you've hooked people in, the first thing you want to do is introduce yourself. So you usually say something like, here's my name and my business title. So I'd be saying like, my name's Kan and I help business owners create videos, highly productive videos, or I generate leads for business owners using video. So introduce yourself, tell them exactly what you do. And then after that, which is lead, we usually say lead in anticipation. So that could be things around, you poke their fears, or if it's like, I'll give you an example. Like if you're talking about weight loss, you say you've tried all the diets, it doesn't work. You've tried all the pills, this doesn't work. You say, but it's not your fault, or this is important. Create some curiosity, something that'll just make them understand. They go, right, if I actually watch this, something's going to change. I'm going to be able to get some value out of this. And then once you've done that, the next thing is to deliver, which is deliver the goods, meaning whatever you promised that you'd offer in terms of the information in this product or in this video, you cover it. You go, here are the 5 things. I know you did a recent video on the 5 productivity apps that you use in your business as well. Right. So there's the sort of things you kind of rattle off your list, or you talk about some of the things that you're going to talk about. And then once you've done that, the last step is the ask. And so it's about what's the call to action, just like you do in a good SEO article. It's always like at the end of it, it's like, what should you do for next steps, and lead people down a journey. Same things here. You usually say, look, if you know a friend or a colleague or someone who who needs to go and watch this, or you can like and subscribe or share this or tag, go to our website. Those are the sort of call to actions that you want to look for in the video. So if you follow HILDA, HILDA, that's a great, easy format or formula that you can use for creating your videos.
This is amazing. Thank you so much. I'm definitely a fan of frameworks with our Erica frameworks, and now next to Erica, we are going to sit HILDA. It's going to be
Erica and HILDA.
Erica and HILDA are going to become best friends. We definitely work with videos a lot, and I think we probably roughly follow this formula we tried today. And if this is really like a YouTube video, I am conscious of SEO videos not being the most entertaining, so we try to have the calls to action spread out across the different videos to break sections up a little bit. But I think this is probably roughly what we try to follow. But I definitely like this hook is definitely interesting, because when we check the statistics of our videos where people break off, etc., very often it's really the first seconds where it's like, okay, apparently this wasn't compelling enough. And we very often compare this or have a similar thing with search snippets in search, where it's like, okay, this is really like the hook. This needs to raise enough interest for people to actually click on it. I just literally had a client call before and talked with a client about an actual project where they get a lot of exposure in Google, but what the text they have is just not compelling enough. The good thing with text and web pages is that you can actually change this, and in most cases Google is going to take over your new meta description eventually. Whereas in videos, it's really making a new video. You can't really edit this front part and then wait what happens. You really need to do a new video on that. But we can definitely see that the hook is extremely important, because people are just so distracted. And if this is not absolutely sure that this is exactly what they are going to search for, they're just going to drop off and click on another video.
Exactly.
There are enough videos on YouTube about every single subject you want. So there's really no need for them to wait for a suboptimal video just that doesn't really convince based off the hook, right?
That's right. I mean, even, from a video standpoint, if you think about, I guess you compare it to having a really good title for your article. It's the same thing. And one of the other variables with video is like, if you're uploading this on YouTube or social media, it pays to have a really, really good thumbnail as well. If you've got a really poor thumbnail or no thumbnail at all, you're letting like Facebook or YouTube choose just a strange frame somewhere random picked, and you're pulling a really stupid face, then you're probably, unless you're absolutely, beautiful naturally and people want to actually go check it out. I think our faces probably won't get too much attention at this stage, but
I'm very aware of my SEO qualities being better than my actual qualities as a model for YouTube.
Your good looks. Yes. So yeah, certainly I think having a good quality thumbnail.
The other question is, if someone clicks on a thumbnail just because you're looking so good, not sure if they're really going to turn into a client anyway, right?
Right. The search intent is an issue as well. So definitely have to keep that in mind.
Definitely an issue. I have one last question before you wrap this up. And this is storytelling. And I know this is like a theme that has been coming up, I would say, in the last 2 years. Really, it was always something the professional copywriters, etc., had in mind. But I can see storytelling being mentioned all over the place these days. How important is it to tie everything into a story? And is this really possible for every video?
I wouldn't say it's possible for every single video. I think, again, it's understanding what the purpose or the objective of the video is. Are you trying to connect with your audience, or are you trying to teach them something, or are you trying to inspire something? And I suppose once you understand what the objective is, then storytelling may or may not be applicable. Where I find storytelling tends to be quite useful is generally if you're trying to get a point across. You could be hammering home a particular point, or it could be that you have a video that's like an origin story and you're trying to explain your value proposition to a prospect. You want to demonstrate a difference between your competitors, then storytelling is fantastic. Mm-hmm. And it's more about the fact that, now that as video becomes easier and easier, more democratized for people to create videos, competition becomes much more fierce, and you can't get away with just being lazy and just, like you said, just starts turning on the record button, just start speaking straight away. So you do have to have a bit of a game plan in place. And so, a formula that we actually use that's really handy is something like character, desire, conflict, outcome. So character refers to yourself, or let's say Luke Skywalker. Desire could be that, you want to be a Jedi, or you're trying to master in the Jedi way. Mm-hmm. And then the conflict could be that, to do that, there's a lot of things in your way, Darth Vader and all these kind of guys. And so it's this kind of storytelling process where you explain kind of, what your aspirations are, and then kind of the pit of despair, trying to get yourself out of that, the wall that you hit or the problem that you reach, and then what's the outcome. So like, how did you get over to the other side and get what you got or achieve what you do, or what's the lesson that you learned through that? And I find that humans historically have always connected through storytelling. I mean, it's fundamentally why humans are the most dominant species in the world. It's purely from storytelling and connecting on a very personal level, and then being able to, I guess, bring people together, bring personalities together, and be able to, I guess, achieve what the objective is. And so that's why storytelling is super important, because you look at really successful, I guess, YouTubers, again, guys like Casey Neistat are amazing, because there are all these people who are trying to be Casey, but they can't be Casey because Casey is Casey as a storyteller. And so it's really important to, I guess, shine and bring out your own personality, and because that's kind of one of the big key differentiators when it comes to businesses as well. It's like there's a lot of personal brand attached to it, and like, for example, with you, Gert, in a lot of ways SEO leverage is Gert, and Gert is SEO leverage. And so really kind of leveraging your personality there as well through the storytelling is going to really help with actually building your brand and generating leads for your business.
Absolutely. We see this a lot, that really businesses based on trust, really, where it's not a commodity, it's really like an ongoing consulting service or ongoing help, is really based on trust. And whenever this is the case, the founder of the company really should be there. We have seen this on a lot of projects where it's just a very different game if the founder of the company is visible and essentially connects directly with their audience through videos, through articles, etc. Or if this is just like a neutral, a little bit cold business where you don't really know who is behind it, and you just get a service, but you should be trusting them enough in order to really take the next step. This is definitely what we have seen here. I want to put you in the spot, and one last question I just thought of, which is going to help our audience a little bit. You're a professional, right? So you look at our videos, you look at videos from others. What are like the three main things you would say people do not pay attention to enough when they create and upload a video, for example, to their website or to YouTube? Anything comes to mind?
I would say first thing is that if people don't do enough preparation work up front. So again, you allude to the fact that a lot of people just press record and they start talking. I think it actually pays to prepare, because the attention span of the average internet searcher now is getting shorter and shorter. So if you don't get to the point of your videos quick, and you don't actually explain and promise what you deliver, you will find that you're going to get drop off there as well. People know when they're being taken for a ride. So that's number one. Number two is, I find, like, again, the thumbnails. People do not spend enough time designing actually a really high quality thumbnail, because just like a really good crafted email, if your subject line is really poor, then it doesn't matter how great the body of your email is. If people aren't going to click it and actually watch it, then that's all for nothing as well. So again, I say look at YouTubers, because they've kind of mastered this. They're kind of the masters of all of this sort of stuff, built a brand from scratch, a lot of them. And the third thing that I find people do generally is that you don't understand how to use the video for the right application. So I'll give you an example. If you were someone who did a 30-minute video, it could be a very long, rambly video or whatever it is, right? And you try and put that up on social media like Facebook, chances are it's probably not going to get the right traction, as opposed to if you put it up on YouTube. So understanding where the video should be used and what that length is, I think length is super important. We say, the video needs to be the length of usually a toilet trip, as crude as it is. They need to be able to sit on the toilet, finish the video before they finish their business. And that is the right length for the video as well. And so, yeah, that's really important to consider, the length of your video too.
I love this. This is great. We just pointed this out the other day to a client who is using video to qualify their prospects. And it's like, yeah, and he was really shocked that many people don't watch the video, but it's a 20-minute video. So if you read an article, you then come to this page, you watch a 20-minute video, it's a lot to ask, right? So if I just think about a user just searching for an answer to a problem, I find this article, and even if I wanted to know more, dedicating now 20 minutes of my time to watch this video, if this program is really for me. You always want to qualify, but this is maybe a lot of qualification or a lot of requirements, and might be one of the reasons why there are not applications coming through, because it's just really hard for people to figure out whether this program is for them or not. And the 20-minute toilet trip is not in the daily schedule of everybody. So I can definitely see the importance of this relation. Well, this was a lot of value, Ken. I really appreciate it. Let me just summarize this a little bit, because apart from HILDA, we also got to know another framework for storytelling here as well, which is great. But essentially what I understand, or what I would want listeners to take away from here, is that video definitely serves a lot of different purposes, can be used at a lot of different stages of the buyer's journey. Video obviously has a high barrier of entry, a lot of equipment, editing. Very often it might be even cheaper hiring someone like you, your company, your team, to help with the process, and especially editing, distribution, etc. Because otherwise you have to dedicate, and I know we are dedicating definitely one person to video and audio editing pretty much full time here. And very often it's cheaper just to outsource this, and you might be getting a better outcome as well. I like that you break the steps down into problem unaware, aware, solution aware, and brand aware. So where you can really say, okay, let's think about where do we really have the problem. Is the problem that people don't know that they need SEO, for example, or is the problem really that they are not brand aware? So I need to make sure that they really get to know my brand and consider us as one of the potential options, right? So storytelling, you mentioned, that can enhance the understanding or the keeping this story, or the point you want to bring across in the memory. You mentioned the HILDA framework: hook, introduction, lead, deliver the goods, and ask, which I think would be a really good framework just to copy and paste into a Word document before recording a video, and just try to fill in the different sections, which brings us to the preparation work you definitely would say is missing on many videos, together with thumbnails. I know Noah Kagan, and I think, had a job ad for someone only focusing on designing the best thumbnails out there. So he's got a guy or
Interesting.
just to focus on thumbnails, which I found really interesting. And then, yeah, obviously use the videos for the right purposes. Is there anything we should be talking about which I haven't asked you?
Well, actually, funny you say Noah, because he's a master at this stuff. And like, if you look at AppSumo, which is his company, and what they do is he's actually, I believe he's got a staff member, a female staff member, who's completely tatted. She's got tattoos everywhere. And she's obviously a very, beautiful person as well. And so he understands fundamentally, it's like picking the right staff member in the thumbnails actually helps a lot in this sort of situation as well, if you got a person in your thumbnail. But if I had any parting, I guess, advice as well, and I think, there's a couple of common questions I always get asked, and James is one of those people who always points this out to me. He's like, he always gets questions about, like, what equipment should you buy when it comes to videos and that sort of stuff. And I usually say that it's this is a big cliche, but it's not about the camera itself. It's about the person behind the camera. And so it's whatever you've got. If you've got a phone, a smartphone, use a smartphone. If you've got a DSLR, use a DSLR. I would say, ironically, for video, audio is more important than video. If people can't hear or understand you, then it's super important to make sure that you do get some decent audio quality as well. But certainly other things like lighting, it could be that you might need a tripod, that sort of stuff. Do what's necessary, but don't let that stop you from creating videos. And last thing I think is just consistency. I think we're in an age now where it's not enough just to do one killer video. You do have to do this consistently. And I'm sure you know that, Gert, because you're producing both podcasts and videos week in, week out, that it's really important to have a regular cadence, and that front of mind is important. And so creating videos, whether it's on a weekly or a fortnightly, I wouldn't recommend anything beyond, less frequent than a monthly. That sort of stuff is super important as well, having a consistent cadence for publishing videos too.
Awesome. This is amazing. You will definitely invested a little bit in audio equipment, both for podcasts and videos as well.
Yep.
But I do realize it's just a lot. The consistency is important, and we see this in all aspects of business, of our clients' business. It's just everything is a very long game. Something really we learned from James Remco as well. I think everything is just really a long game, and whatever
Definitely.
you do, you need to do it right, and you need to do it for a long time, and just be consistent, be there, make sure you understand your target audience, and deliver the value. Thank you so much, Ken. Where can people go if they want to get in touch with you or find out more?
Sure, they can head on over to our website, which is socialwave.com.au. That's social media, and wave as in tidal wave.com.au. Or if anyone wants to get in touch, they can email me. It's Kan, spelled K for Kilo, A for Alpha, N for November, at socialwave.com.au.
Awesome. This is amazing. We're definitely going to link to your site in our written version of this article. So if this video, if someone wants to read this and then get to you, head over to seoleverage.com/podcast and find episode 46. where Ken gives us frameworks on how to make better videos. Thank you so much, Ken, for taking the time, and I hope we can welcome you back on the show. Maybe talk about equipment a little bit more. Thank you so much.
Pleasure. Thanks, Kurt.
Awesome.